faith is doth to be abstemiously, I knew I missed that one, and roses in the state in Sicily. Carol can turn anything into a vivid kind of thing. One of the things I think that her doctorate has done is perhaps given her a certain discipline in that area. I'll have to share this story with you. A long time ago, Carol's apartment, she painted it, and it was just lovely. It just looked great. And everybody complimented her on it and how great it looked. And then when she moved out and moved the furniture, she never painted behind the furniture. I think that there's been a little, along the way, there have been a lot of people that have played an important role in Carol's life. And it so happens that those people, a number of them, and some of the more important ones are here this evening, particularly. And so I would like to get them to say something, and we're going to start with her mother.
Well, first thing, you were saying about her painting and everything, and didn't paint behind the furniture. She was saving paint. She's very conservative. I'm going to say it. I can't stand it. Carol, I'm so proud of the work you've done to get your doctorate. You know I'm like all parents. I love and am proud of all of my children and what they do. But tonight is a special time for you. I'm really not too surprised about Carol getting a doctorate. Carol has always had a mind of her own. She was an independent child. When her sisters would try to get her to do cute little things, she would flatly refuse. And when she was older, she really liked to read, but her favorite thing was to talk her nephews and nieces into being cowboys and Indians. and she would often make up the Indian and cowboy songs for them to sing. And doing things she wanted to do. And she usually got them to do what she wanted them to do. I guess lecturing to people to get them to do what you want them to do will prepare a person to be a professor. Carol was the first baby born in the family for 10 years, and everyone spoiled her. Her aunts and uncles, her grandparents, everyone had great expectations and loved her, and love for her. When she was about 2 months old, her dad and I were driving along. He looked down at her and said, "Isn't she pretty, Mother?" Says, "You know, she could be president someday." Anyway, I really appreciate the help and support that friends have given Carol, particularly during the time she has worked on her doctorate. She has did a lot of work and it's really exhausted her. Sometimes you don't always recognize how important your support is. When Carol told me she was buying my ticket to come down for her graduation, I said, "I can get it," but she said, "No, Mother. When I was ready to drop out of school and go get a job, you and Daddy wouldn't let me. And that's why I'm buying your ticket." And so God has blessed Carol with a lot of help in a lot of different ways and by a lot of different people. Anyway, congratulations, Carol. I love you and I'm proud of all the things you have done. You may not be president, but who knows what you'll do next, Dr. Archer. Being the boss of the Cowboys. I'm grateful that things you didn't
that has had a really significant impact, I think, on Carol, and particularly a great support and mentoring friend is Dr. Joyce Valdez. And so I've asked her also to say some words. I know they're about one of her favorite people and Carol's favorite person to say them. When Mary said she'd like for me to say a few words today, I thought, well, now, that's an interesting idea. I'll make a list of some of my favorite words that I seldom get to say when I'm far apart. But I thought, no, instead I'll just use one of my favorite topics, Carol May Archer. I beg your pardon, Dr. Carol May Archer. Carol and I have been friends for a long time, way back since before there was a Language and Culture Center. And when we did establish that organization, she was one of the first 2 teachers that we had in the program. We have done some traveling together and have found that we make great traveling companions. Our feet began to hurt at the same time. And we seem to be interested in the same things. In my nearly 77 years, I've had a lot of friends, but none that I valued more than Carol, because of all the things she is. You know her too, and there's no need for me to tell you all of the things that Carol is, because you know too. One thing that is very difficult about Carol, it's very difficult not to like Carol. I think everybody who knows her does like her. Once we were talking earlier this evening, and incidentally, I asked her if it was all right for us to go on calling her Carol, you know. She said yes, and I thought that was very gracious of her, because for the first year after I got mine, my kids had to call me Dr. Mom. But she's a good sport, she is. But I hope that you will all remember the many things that you have done with and around Carol, and you will cherish her as I have. Another person that's had a significant impact, and particularly I think on getting Carol into the doctor program, is our adopted sister Maria. I'd like to talk, you know, one of the things that in our family, we talk a lot about, in our country, we talk a lot about the influence that immigrants have on our country. Let me tell you, you know, Carol is the first of Mother's natural children to get her PhD, and the first woman on either side of the family to get a PhD. And it is my studied amateur sociological opinion that it would not have happened if it hadn't been for Maria. She has influenced our family in wonderful, wonderful ways, and so I've asked her for her special relationship with Carol to say something.
When I read this letter to Carol, I will not cry, so I will not cry. Okay. Dear Carol, I'm writing you an open letter to tell you how delighted I am with the completion of your doctoral degree. As you know, this is a formality. You have had a doctoral degree in cross-cultural communication since 1975, which was the first time when I met you at the Intercontinental Airport. I could not help to think what would have happened to my life if someone else had been there in the airport waiting for the Venezuelan students. I'm very lucky that you weren't there. You were the ambassador of the culture and the language that I came to learn. I want to explain what I mean when I said before that you have a doctoral degree in cross-cultural communication. Carol, remember when you were my teacher back then? You already knew what some people know now. It is impossible to give up your native culture and your language to be part of the new country. You not only validate my own culture, but truly wanted to learn more about it. To my surprise, you could speak my language, dance better than many Latins, and you show a great admiration and respect for the Venezuelan culture. So our relationship turned out to be an exchange where we learn the culture from each other. It was like a game where we took turns leading each other. As the year passed by, we continued playing the same game. I have been very lucky to have your assistance. It has been a determining factor, not only in my professional, but also in my personal life. You have enriched my husband, Kumar, my children, Atanu and Rajiv, my parents and other relatives' lives. For that, we are very thankful to you. Carol, you have the sensibility to know how people feel. You can teach anyone anything. You could even convince your family 20 years ago that I should be included as part of the family. I still remember our first Christmas together. I was sad. It was my very first Christmas away from Venezuela. I was homesick. Your mom, your daddy, Papa Archer, Mary, Alberta, Sarah, Billy, everybody, the whole Archer family made me feel so much at home. Kiddo, you touch people's life in a very special way. You are not only truly a multicultural person, but also you are a wonderful human being. Welcome to the doctoral world. There is a lot of work to be done to achieve peace and harmony. We need many people like you. Dr. Carol May Archer, I salute you. I'm very proud to be your sister.
It says, congratulations, Carol Archer. Carol Archer was first a student of mine during my second year at the University of Houston. From our first meeting, I recognized in Carol a person of much depth and talent. I have seen her regularly as she progressed through the doctoral program, and Carol came to be a good friend as well as a top student. Her graduation is an event of great pride for me and for the university. Carol has been an ideal doctoral student, and that for a fairly subtle reason. Many people do their doctoral degrees mainly in order to develop new skills, be promoted at their places of work, have the title of doctor in front of their names. But as the highest degree possible, the highest mark of formal and scholarly endeavor, the doctorate should mean more than these things. It did for me, and it does for Carol. Ideally, doctoral work should be part of one's life mission. It should be the flowering of a talent that grace provided us. I believe that all human beings have their missions to fulfill and their talents to express. But not many are fortunate enough to truly know what their purpose is, nor able to link this purpose to their formal schooling. Carol knew she was special when she first came into our doctoral program. I am sure of this, even if she is not. I could see it in her right away. She had a talent and a contribution to make that was deeply known inside of her. It directed the many decisions she had to make when picking courses and deciding on projects. It came in full bloom with the choice of a dissertation project and her stunning fulfillment of that choice. Carol's dissertation is Carol. It is a brilliant expression, illustration, elaboration, and maturation of a deep insight that she had many years before. Now that's a real professorial statement, isn't it? And it's true. And this is why Carol's doctoral work is the ideal. It has been exactly as all doctorates should be. The theories she read and mastered, the data she generated and analyzed, these things merely gave Carol an expanded vocabulary to express and clarify what she already knew. She has a deep and unique understanding of human beings and how they communicate. Part of the depth is her love for humanity in all its wonderful forms. Carol had a gift to share, a gift that needed the hard work of birthing to come forth in full form. This Carol did. She gave birth to her gift, fulfilling part of her destiny in the process, and benefiting many others at the same time. Carol has become more Carol through her work, and that is what doctoral work should be all about. We can expect much more from Carol now, Dr. Archer. Thought you were rest on your laurels? No, you wouldn't do that. As she continues with her work, I expect books and articles to follow. I expect to see students grow towards expressing their own life mission under Dr. Archer's guidance. Meanwhile, I will always display Dr. Archer's dissertation with pride on my bookshelf. Sincerely, Phil Francis Carspeken, May 1996. The only thing you forgot was President of the United States, but your mother didn't care. It's been a pleasure for me to know Carol as well as a member of her committee, because it is, I think, a good word was subtle, because she knows so much about how to interact with people, how to make people feel at home, how to get along, and how to bring things into focus that we're so blind to in our own cultural identity. But she does it in such a not casual, but very normal way. And even when she introduced me, at least, to culture bumps, I didn't feel very much bumped, because she has a way of easing those bumps, and that's what her life is all about. But it gets you to think about those things. And as I just stand here and look around and see the many different families, the many different backgrounds of the people, and she's really transcultural in a sense. And with the Madrigal Singers being here, there's almost a sense of timelessness here. That it's the way people ought to relate to one another. Sometimes we can do it more easier with people in the past, but she's teaching us how to get along with people in the present. Not only by her work, which is I think, probably a seminal work, a work that will get much attention and be very important. If we had such a thing as best dissertation, I'm sure she would have been awarded, because it's, in my view, the best dissertation committee that I've served on. And I learned a lot, and we don't like to admit that we learn anything from our students, you understand, as professors. So, you know, I'll give you that. We learned a lot, and we enjoyed very much working with her, and I mean that personally, Carol, and she's always a joy. I've never seen her with a frown on her face. You know, even when she was in, you know, having to get this and that together, and computers would, you know, throw up or whatever they all do. She would always have that calmness about her, where maybe she was like churning inside, I don't know, but always that friendly approach, which you well know. I just want to testify to that from the academic side, because that's how I know her, mainly from the academic side, and she's just been a wonderful student, a wonderful person to know, and she's made a wonderful contribution to the field and to ourselves, and to our university, to our community, and to all of you. So thank you, Carol.
Public. There are, you know, obviously the schedule is not on target, but there were also some other people that had some things to say, and then, and if there are any, and as soon as she runs around the corner and gets it, she'll come back and say it. And then anyone else that would like to say something will, you know, just family and friends and everyone. There were several things, Carol. There's some cards and letters coming in for you, and from various and sundry places that